Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt, joined by two old friends, two presidents. Lisa Nelson, president of the American Legislative Exchange Council, joins me, as she has often. Elaine Parker, president of the Job Creators Network. Good morning, Madam Presidents. Good to have you both here. Doug Ducey told me in the first segment, I'll start with you, Lisa, that everyone's getting the band together on school choice. What is ALEC's contribution here? Because you've been pushing school choice for a long time.
That's right. We've been pushing it for a long time, and we're finally seeing momentum in the last few years. And we're just thrilled to be partnering with people and organizations across the movement, both Job Creators Network, Doug Ducey's organization, the Free Enterprise Foundation, the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. There's a number of conservative and philosophically aligned organizations that are joining with us with the Education Freedom Alliance. And the most important thing is getting the message out to both the legislators who are passing those policies in their states, but more importantly even is just engaging the parents, engaging the students, engaging the families in their states to understand that they've got a choice and they've got the ability to kind of make that happen in their state.
Now, let me stay with you for a second, Lisa. In the times that I've been with you at the ALEC conventions, I usually will talk with state legislators, whether from West Virginia or Florida, who are pushing it over the goal line. Who is next in line to win on school choice? Which state?
Well, we're watching it very, very closely, and actually, all eyes should be focused on Louisiana. Their newly elected governor, Governor Landry, came in on the off year in 2023 and said, I want to affect change on education choice. I want to be a part of this revolution. He's been working it through with his legislators. They passed it in the House, and the Senate just last night passed it in the Education Committee with a few amendments that we're still trying to work through. From that Education Committee, it'll go to the Appropriations Committee and then to the floor of the Senate and then back to the House for final passage and on to the governor's desk for signature. We're very hopeful that Louisiana will be the next state in our 25 by 25 goal.
That would be terrific. Elaine Parker, you just helped, and Job Creator Network just helped push it over the line in Georgia. What did you get done in Georgia, Elaine Parker?
We did a statewide campaign that included conservative radio hosts, social media influencers, and we engaged with parents across the state of Georgia. And what you need to remember, Hugh, is when we first heard about the ESAs moving through the legislature in Georgia, is we were told this isn't going to pass. It's just not going to go anywhere. And in the end, when the Education Freedom Alliance, Lisa's group and the others that she referenced, came in, this passed over the line by one vote. So we can make a difference by engaging with parents and getting them to have their voices heard by the state legislators and get this passed. And what we're going to do is ignite a national movement through this Education Freedom Alliance to put parents back in charge and get education freedom in America for all students. Ultimately, and provide a lifeline for kids who are stuck in failing schools. I mean, the reality is we've seen a mass exodus of parents and families from blue states to red states because of COVID lockdown policies and economic policies. These ESAs in states, as they get passed, will just provide another reason for people to leave blue states.
Elaine, let's stay on that for a moment. I brought that up with Doug Ducey. It's a competitive advantage for a state to have school choice. He made that point in Arizona. I believe it's true about Florida and Ohio, which has school choice. I think Iowa. What is your next target for Job Creator Network, or is the Education Freedom Alliance doing the same thing and focused on Louisiana right now?
We're focused on Louisiana. We're focused on multiple states across this country. Again, the goal is to pass universal education freedom. And while states like Georgia and some of the states that have passed ESAs, there are some restriction eligibility requirements. It's a foot in the door, and we can expand and grow those successes, grow on those successes, and build on those successes. But the ultimate goal will be to get to universal education in all states. Eventually, and it'll start in with leadership like Governor Ducey and Governor Reynolds. We know we can generate some friendly competition between red states.
Let me go back to Lisa Nelson now. Lisa, usually we bring along a piñata named Danny Perez to knock around a little bit, but he's not here today, so I can't beat up on Danny. So I'm going to ask you to take his place. When you get together at an ALEC conference, Do the state legislators want the federal government to stay away from this topic of school choice, or do they want what I have argued for, federal spending contingency, which is you get no federal dollars unless you have robust school choice, and the details are left up to the states? How do they prefer, stay away or get involved and push?
I mean, that's the beauty of ALEC is we've got legislators on kind of all sides of the issue. So that robust conversation around funding and where money is going to be expended and then strings attached is always an interesting one at our ALEC meetings. We tend to line up with the limited government, so limited scope of government. But there are legislators who like that kind of carrot and stick approach that you're talking about. The one thing, Governor Ducey said it's American to have a choice. And I think that that's a great line because Democrats all over the country are realizing that they need to be with us on this issue. And, this isn't an anti-public school effort at all. This is an effort to make all schools rise up. And I would say that even in Georgia with Elaine, Mesha Maynor was a Democrat and switched parties to the Republican Party because of this issue. In North Carolina, Tricia Cotham switched parties from Democrat to Republican because of this issue as they started talking about the choices for students and the choices for families. We're seeing in Pennsylvania a kind of blue, certainly not a red state, blue state. Senator Anthony Williams is crossed the line and is voting with the Republicans on school choice. And even in Louisiana, in that House vote that I talked about, I think there was 3 Democrats who voted with it. So we'll see what happens. I think that is proof that as we work together with Job Creators Network, with ALEC, with Governor Ducey's office, Governor Reynolds, we're going to find support across the country. It's going to look a little different in every state because that's the nature of our 50 laboratories of democracy. Having said that, we are really pushing for that universal access for all students, all families, not a carve out here or carve out there. We're really trying to push for all students to be able to have that choice. And then the tricky part is going to be in the implementation, as you talked about with Governor Ducey.
Let's talk about that, Elaine Parker. Obviously, a voucher program that goes wrong is not going to help the Education Freedom Alliance. It's got to be done well. It's being done well in Ohio. It's being done well, excuse me, in Arizona. Do you have like model legislation, model handbooks for people at Job Creators Network?
Well, the Alliance obviously works together and we leverage the resources that ALEC and some of the other partners in the coalition utilize. But ultimately, Hugh, education is not immune to the free market forces of choice and competition. And as we see better models get implemented, we will see better outcomes for students.
Lisa and I both live in Northern Virginia, and I don't have to worry about kids being in school anymore. But Lisa, you can go down literally a block and go from a great public school to a terrible public school. It all depends on the lines in Northern Virginia. Do you think Virginia would profit from this? Because it's a Democratic legislature. I don't know if it will get through, but I know some of those terrible schools are in Democrat-heavy districts.
Yeah, it's a shame that the elections in 2023 in Virginia didn't produce some more support for these education choice bills. I know that Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears has made this her priority as president of the Senate, but with a Democrat majority in that legislature, they're not going to be able to get it across the finish line. I know they have tried. We will continue to try to push. It is on our list of states that we want to try to get it done in, as is Texas. And I'll say that in Texas, we're still following the results of the primaries and the runoffs. Governor Abbott had kind of 17 votes that he was short. There was some primaries that they saw, and a lot of the people who voted against the school choice measure lost their primaries. And I think that you're seeing a shift there. So that might happen in Virginia. And if that does, Hugh, we'll be able to see this get across the finish line. I know Governor Youngkin wants to get something done and signed into law. And certainly Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears has made this priority, speaking on it all over the country.
Elaine Parker, I send people to join JCN all the time. The American Legislative Exchange Council is easy to find. What is the URL for the Education Freedom Alliance? Where do people go if they want to be a part of this?
They can go to educationfreedomalliance.org.
Well, that's easy. I like that. Okay, last question for you, Elaine. When our friend Alfredo comes on, he always talks about the fact that there are a lot of manual labor crafts that have jobs unfilled everywhere. And I got a buddy who runs a shipyard up in Wisconsin. They don't have enough welders. Do you think that education freedom will help power vocational programs for high school students so that they're not going to go off to college? They want to go get a job at six figures, and they can be trained to do that if the right kind of vocational school is open. Is that part of the push?
I think there's great opportunity there as states, like I said, the models that keep producing and improving upon these wins, we can get there and provide those types of opportunities for vocation as well. We do need to fill those kinds of jobs. There are a lot of trade positions available that we just don't have the skills for. A lot of jobs just don't match up with the skills. And we've got a lot of college students who are graduating with degrees that aren't worth anything. So it'd be a lot better for them to make the choice to go into skills trade than to graduate with a degree that's worthless.
And if school choice funds trade schools, that would be great. Last question to you. The bottom line on the American education, I want to get the URL right. Education Freedom Alliance. Is that right, Lisa? Education Freedom Alliance?
It's .org, yes.
educationfreedomalliance.org. Now, when ALEC gets together again, it's going to be in the Beltway. I'm just curious. This is a nasty parting shot. I already fled the Beltway, Lisa. Do you have to stay there all summer?
No, we're going to be in Denver in July for our annual meeting. So we're fleeing the Beltway and we're going to kind of a transitional state, if you will. But we'll be in Denver.
Elaine Parker, do you get stuck in the Beltway all summer?
I do not. I'm in Florida.
That might be worse, actually. I'm not sure about Florida in the summer. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate it very, very much. Lisa Nelson from the American Legislative Exchange Council, Elaine Parker from the Job Creators Network. Thank you both. educationfreedomalliance.org. educationfreedomalliance.org. Go there, join. They've got everyone coming together in one place to push school choice, which is the salvation of our education program, both public, private. educationfreedomalliance.org. I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Portions of the Hugh Hewitt Show are brought to you in part by the American Legislative Exchange Council. Visit ALEC.org for more info.